Hopefully, in the year 2014, we'll recognize that Scooby Doo Where Are You may have been iconic, but it was not any sort of masterpiece of animation that changed everything. It was safe, non-violent, and it worked for kids. The only pieces of Scooby Doo media I considered good would be Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School, A Pup Named Scooby Doo, some of the darker late 90s and early 2000s films until we reach Legend of the Vampire, and that newer Mystery Incorporated show. You know, the one that actually has characters to it, and it's Lovecraftian horror. But seriously, who wants to see characters that do mundane things go on huge Lovecraftian horror adventures? That's crazy. Long ago, I reviewed the first Scooby Doo live action film. It sucked. It sucked worse than the original show. That's how much it sucked. The writing was sloppy, the effects were horrible, I had no idea what its audience was, being a little bit too nasty for children and too stupid for the mature-minded. Some people liked the 2002 film, probably because of how stupid it was, and possibly because of the horrific effects of the nostalgia goggles. I gotta give some credit though, there was more than zero effort thrown into it. Matthew Lillard actually managed to be a likable on-screen presence, which you'd think is completely impossible, but he did it and I'm proud of him. The set design was also pretty good too. Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed is the 2004 sequel to that 2002 film that sucked. It's directed by Raja Gosnell again, who never directed a good movie in his career, and written by James Gunn, who went on to direct some good movies, most recently Guardians of the Galaxy. So, how's the film? Well, it's still bad, but at least it feels a little bit more like Scooby-Doo this time. Is this better? Let's get into this. So, the movie opens, and we get to see Mystery Inc. back in action as celebrities again, going to a museum opened in honor of all the iconic monsters they caught back in the 1970s when they were still animated. Fred gives out ascots to his fangirls. He doesn't wear one during the movie because how he's dressed was incredibly trendy back then, in the 70s. Daphne meets fanboys, Velma meets fangirls that all have Hollywood nerd girl looks to them, Shaggy meets his hippie fanboys, and Scooby meets his dog fans, with subtitles. All that set up for a butt joke. All is not well because there's a crazy looking old dude there. So it turns out that Mystery Inc., after catching these criminals dressed up like monsters, they got to keep these costumes. The police didn't just keep it as evidence, no, they let these meddling kids hold on to them, and then sometime between the first and second movie, they donated these costumes to a museum. This leads to a bigger problem I have with this film series. Why does Mystery Inc. have to be known to the people in this movie? Is it just because Scooby-Doo is known to us as viewers? Are they trying to adapt a realistic Scooby-Doo as if they could actually exist in our world? That can't be because there's real monsters and a talking dog. Are they trying to take the path of the far superior animated films from the later 90s that were darker and had real monsters? That can't be either because the real monsters thing was used as a shock tool to paint this series in a new light. In the first movie, it was used as a cheap means to drive them apart with fame tearing them up. But why? Why did they take this path? Why does the movie so far outstep its bounds because the characters are known to the real world? This was the entire basis for Scrappy revealed as the villain of the first one, because everyone hated him in real life. He wasn't that much of a jerk in those shows. Why couldn't this just be a simple mystery with a bunch of kids solving it? Why does fame have to be involved? Why did they make this the focal point to the entire plot of the second movie? I'm getting ahead, let's get back on track. So, Shaggy and Scooby are scared of the costumes, and one starts to move. Then Velma gets all goo-goo-eyed over the curator of the museum, Patrick, played by Seth Green?
You look tonight. There's something about the way that I can't take my eyes off you. There's something about the
I didn't realize this man was some kind of sex symbol among female nerds. So Seth Green asked Velma on a date in a scene that makes me want to vomit.
Listen, Velma, I know that you're a glamorous, mysterious, jet-set adventurer preoccupied with international intrigue and all.
Oh, yes. That's me.
I know, but, there's a symposium coming up on the syntactic reasoning in the criminal brain.
I have always found a criminal.
Oh god, make it stop please. Bring in anything. We'll even take Agent Orange. Just do something. Make the scene stop. Oh, wonderful. So Pterodactyl Ghost's costume comes to life, and it becomes a cheap CG looking model that I would see in an asylum film. So there's some slapstick, and then we're revealed to our main villain, Darth Vader Clown.
Mystery Incorporated!
Fun fact, Darth Vader Clown is played by a fairly famous voice actor named Scott McNeil. He's pretty well known for dubbing anime. To most people, his most famous role would be that of the ocean dub of Piccolo. You know, the one that sounds like this.
Special beam cannon.
So like, costumes get stolen and Velma is, as usual, the only one doing any detective work at all. So Mystery Inc. have to deal with the media misrepresenting them to pad out this movie. Shaggy decides he actually wants to be a detective rather than be comic relief.
Raise your right paw. No, your right paw. Scooby-Doo, your other paw. Now repeat after me. From this day forward, we will no longer be our goofy selves.
So Velma tracks down the deceased mad scientist who tried to create real monsters and the original guy in the pterodactyl suit, Jacobo, in this version. It's not consistent with the show. There's also his cellmate, the old guy from the beginning that looks suspicious. Anyway, this old guy has a trapdoor in his house that traps a bunch of people in a dungeon. By the way, he's not the culprit, he just has this. Daphne gets everyone free, and Shaggy goes with Scooby to wander this pretty set. Velma finds a book that just happens to explain how to create monsters. First you need evil, and then lots of hot gas. So, Scooby goes to steal some stuff to mess around with Shaggy, and they run into the Black Knight ghost. Scooby and Shaggy also do a classic gag from the series where they barricade a door and the ghost helps them.
Heavy stuff, Scoop. Give me a hand, Scoop. See him get through this. We outsmarted that moron.
Yeah, what a moron.
It's nice to see a gag based on the source material instead of fart jokes. Anyway, Daphne fights the ghost, and we see the worst animated shot in the entire movie. Also, it turns out this knight's weakest point is his testicles. I wish I was 6 again so I could enjoy this movie's very juvenile slapstick. It's not even so cartoonishly over the top that I can laugh at it, it's just a kick to the balls. I feel like one of those old curmudgeons and I'm only 19. Alright, so Shaggy and Scooby leave by pretending Scooby has rabies while Freddy, Velma, and Daphne talk about how to track down the villain leading to a mining factory. When suddenly, Velma has to take cover in fear as Seth Green appears. I don't know, I think this whole plotline with Velma doesn't work out for me because Mystery Inc. are adults at the time of this story, and this seems like a problem she would have overcome when she was younger and not still struggle with when she's 25. The whole not acting the proper age thing is more Shaggy shtick. There's a certain age where being afraid to talk to people you like stops being cute and becomes depressing. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but something that's neither funny nor cute doesn't really fit in the tone of this movie. It's just weird to go this direction. It's about to get weirder because Daphne gives Velma a makeover to make her feel more hot and starts the inevitable new be yourself resolution we'll get in a few minutes. But we'll get back to them. First, Shaggy and Scooby follow their clue to a place called the Faux Ghost where Shaggy recognizes a bunch of people as former criminals they had unmasked. Shaggy decides he needs to be incognito about it.
Hey! Everyone part like the Red Sea. It's me, Shizzy McCreepy, and my brother SD McCrawley. We are in the house and ready to partay.
Yes, very incognito. This bar has a dart game and a whack-a-mole based on Mystery Inc. And this is just funny to me. This is more cartoony than something we'd see in the cartoons. Like, who would actually make a functional machine and make moles in the likeness of Mystery Inc? Imagine if that was in real life, just for a second. Who would do that? Like, let's say a group of people hate Kanye West. I still don't believe that anyone would actually spend the money to make and place a Whack-A-Kanye in a bar. Okay, so Shaggy meets Old Man Wickles, who expresses regret over the fact that he was the lamest person in the entire jail because while others were sent in for murder or arson, he was sent in because he dressed up like a Black Knight and scared people. Shaggy goes to the bathroom and Scooby dances with some random woman, blowing his cover. So they run away. Well, at least we got a moderately entertaining dance scene out of it. Back to awkward scenes between Velma and Seth. Oh wait, her outfit is squeaky and it sounds like flatulence. Honestly, I missed lines like this.
I'm Mary Jane.
Like that is my favorite name.
From the first movie. This just feels so non-threatening and childish. So, like, the museum gets robbed of the other costumes and Patrick is sad. Fred also makes a fool of himself on TV again. This is why you don't talk to reporters. Especially if you can easily press a libel lawsuit at this point. So Daphne goes to confront Rita Skeeter, who calls Daphne useless, which Daphne retorts by suggesting that Rita Skeeter is Darth Vader Clown. When suddenly Darth Vader Clown appears again to chew some scenery and taunt Mystery Inc. Shaggy sees Seth threatening some dude for information on the lost costumes, and then follows the old man into the mining building where Velma said that monsters are being made. Shaggy and Scooby run into a skeleton Cyclops and take cover in a hidden elevator. Daphne was hurt by Skeeter calling her just eye candy while Velma is too blinded by her attraction to Patrick to focus on mysteries. Fred finds Wickles and questions him about what's happening. It turns out he's just proposing a plan. So, Scooby and Shaggy find a secret lab and accidentally get into some potions that morph them. Shaggy develops a woman's body, and Scooby becomes a traditionally animated Tasmanian devil, and then Shaggy becomes buff while Scooby develops intelligence to fix everything. This scene is so out of place, even in this movie. I just want to imagine James Gunn writing the script and how he would word this scene. Shaggy, in female body, looks over at Scooby, who is now the Tasmanian devil from Looney Tunes projected against a live-action background like Roger Rabbit. Scooby, as Taz says, "I'm a Tasmanian devil." So like, Mystery Inc. go into the location where the monsters are being made, and Velma reaches the conclusion that Seth is the main villain, and that he only wanted to go out with her because he wanted to know what they knew. While the other three wander away, Shaggy and Scooby accidentally bring the costumes to life, bringing us the most iconic monsters, the Minor 49er, the Thing, the Tar Monster, and I know that's not the Creeper. Yay for idiot heroes! On the plus side, there's the best exchange in this whole movie.
Calm! Calm, Scooby-Doo! You're not being calm! I needed that. I needed that too. You're pushing your luck, Scoob!
I needed that. This movie's so hard to get through. Everyone runs after sealing the control panel to the machine, and we see the 10,000 volt ghost, which just kind of appears. I'm gonna make this experience more pleasant for myself and just call it the virus. Shaggy and Scooby get chased down by comic relief Cyclop aliens, but they get away. Unfortunately, Darth Clown lays siege to Coolsville with his army of monsters. This turns everyone in the city against Mystery Inc. Mystery Inc. have to retreat to their former hideout, but for the first time in the movie, we have a sweet moment where we see the younger versions of the characters playing Frisbee, being friends. For once, they're actually doing stuff that friends do, and not what coworkers do. It's a nice little moment. And then Velma, Daphne, and Freddy have a MacGuffin fixing montage, leaving Shaggy and Scooby behind.
Like they're totally having a montage in there without us.
Then suddenly our heroes have to run as they start getting chased through the city by several of the monsters, and Scooby has to drive them out. Fred has his friends go ahead while he has a jousting match with the Black Knight Ghost on a motorcycle. Unfortunately, this is not as awesome as it sounds. Daphne similarly stays behind to fight the electric virus. Daphne's plan is to kick the virus. Spoilers, it doesn't work. Daphne comically bounces right next to Fred, and they whiplash into a scene where Fred is uncomfortable with his masculinity, which is barely alluded to in this script. I guess it's the fact that he's not wearing ascots anymore. Velma stays behind to distract the skeleton Cyclopses and tells Shaggy and Scooby to go save the day. The two freak out. They're afraid of messing things up, and Velma tells them that she looks up to them for being able to be themselves and free. Now this is a real character moment because there were entire subplots devoted to this. It's what we call setup. So Freddy and Daphne murder the electric virus and Black Knight by linking them with jumper cables. Hey, are you sick of fart jokes? Okay, cool. Here's Scooby having a fart beam struggle with the Minor 49ers Fire Breath Dragon Ball style.
Take this, Daddy-O! It's a real gas!
Velma falls down a grate and she loses her glasses so she can't see, but that doesn't mean she can't be seen, like Johnny over there. She discovers that Jacobo, the dead guy from the beginning of the movie, has a shrine, and Seth finds her there, giving her her glasses. Velma is convinced he's the bad guy, and him acting like a creepy weirdo isn't helping.
What are you talking about?
Don't wait, Jose.
Velma.
Yeah, real smooth. So Velma decides to trust the man, and he gets taken away by the pterodactyl ghost while the whole gang gets subdued by the tar monster. For the emotional climax scene, using a callback to one of the only legitimately heartwarming scenes in the movie, where it looks like everyone's gonna die, they could have used better special effects for that monster. So Scooby saves everyone, and they catch Clown Vader. It turns out that Clown Vader is actually Rita Skeeter, and her cameraman Ned was playing Clown Vader when Daphne was talking to Rita. Also, Rita Skeeter is actually Jacobo, who didn't actually die. Velma goes to ask out Seth, this time as herself, and then dancing commences. And that's the end of this movie. So unless you're like 6, this movie kinda sucks. It's really not as bad as the first one. This one has better character moments, and these characters feel less annoying than they were in the first one, with better chemistry. Another bonus is that there is more source material here, with some of the iconic monsters appearing, and the humor being a little bit more Scooby-Doo-like. Unfortunately, there was just no grit. No balls. Sure, it felt inappropriate for the first movie, but at least it was there. At least it was somewhat willing to not let anyone over 12 be tortured, even if it ultimately failed.
I'm a man of substance. Dorky chicks like you turn me on too.
However, unlike for the first movie, I can actually recommend an alternative to this. If you want to see an interesting story where the Scooby-Doo gang takes on all their iconic monsters again, watch Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. It's a much better watch. Monsters Unleashed, you've been outgrown. Even though Monsters Unleashed isn't as bad as the first movie, it's still bad. I'm gonna go watch Cyber Chase now to cleanse myself. See you around!
Gossip, 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 just stop it. Everybody know I'm a monster. I'ma need to see up to your pants at the concert. I'ma need to see up to your pants at the concert. Profit.